which is who do you as a psychologist talk to?
Listen, I just want to say first off that I am a solar baby. Like solar baby, meaning I get energy from the sun, literally this sun and the sun.
Just give me the light.
Sorry. I get energy from the sun. So literally I have to tap out because I need space to be able to think more clearly. Who do I talk to? My daddy. But I talk to my husband. I talk to you. I talk to other people. The reason it's important to talk to other people is because when you are in a challenging situation or under stress, you can get what I call, you can get lies form here.
Ooh.
And my husband and
She's pointing to her brain, her mind.
Yes.
Yes.
My husband and I call them little Mikey moments.
What moments?
Little Mikey moments.
Why is that?
Thanks for asking. Little Mikey moments are moments. My husband and I had an experience in Missouri when we were working in the nursery, and a mom dropped off her daughter and said, "You know, my baby doesn't talk much. She's very quiet, X, Y, and Z." And I thought, I'm a child whisperer. You can't even fathom what I can do with children. So this little girl started opening up and doing puzzles with me and talking and telling me where she went to the zoo and all of these things. My husband was enamored by how I was able to work with her. I tried to trick her with animals on the puzzles, and she said she wouldn't let me trick her. She was only 3 years old. So his wheels are spinning as he's looking at her, and he's like, wow, look how she came to get this information. She knew that apple was this or that the dog was this, and it made that sound. And my wife could not trick her. So he was sharing the fact that the mom had in her mind that the daughter didn't speak. Right? That was her reality, but it wasn't the truth.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
So he shared that with a friend at work. He says, I watched my wife work with this baby, and we start. I was realizing how we start to believe things that aren't true. And the coworker said, "Wow." The coworker said, that's so true. He said, my wife and when I was younger, my parents owned a farm, and we lived on the farm, and one of the nephews was over, and my mother said, Mikey, look out the window. You see that animal? That's a cow. And Mikey said, no, it's a cow. Sorry, Mike, that's a cow, and the cow says moo. And Mikey said, no, Grandma, the cow doesn't go moo. And she said, yes, Mikey, the cow says moo. And he said, no, Grandma, and he stormed out of the room, and he came back with a toy. And he has this toy in his hand. When he has the toy, he pulls the string. What's that toy? You know that toy? He pulls the string.
Oh, the speaking. What is it?
Speak and say.
Speak and say. Yeah.
Speak and say. That's right. So he pulls the string. Dial goes to the cow. The cow says bath. That's right.
It wasn't calibrated. But
the truth was that
for him,
broken. No, his reality was that the cow said bath. Right. The truth that we know it as adults was that the machine malfunctioned. So we talk about having little Mikey moments, right? Because that's what happens when you get things happen to you and you start to believe remnants of that thing. I am no good. I am not worthy. I am this and I am that. And they stay there until you talk to someone about those irrational thoughts. You don't know they're irrational, right? Little Mikey could have started school thinking that the cow said bath.
Yep.
So that's why it's important to speak and to say, talk to a therapist or someone else to say, I'm thinking this thing, so that person can say that's not true.
Right. Or who says that's true? Right. Where does that come from?
Where does that come from? And so that you can gauge your reality versus the truth. Don't write that down. Don't write that down.
Look, that's all yours. I'm not stealing. I'm not.
It's enough to go around, flowing and flowing.
Right. That is so deep, though. Like, because even when, in terms of the action plan and the I for introspection, I think that introspective piece is really important because it allows you to look at the thoughts and the feelings that you've been having and to really start to challenge a couple of different things. A, is this really true? B, who says it is? And C, how can I shift what I know is not working.
Absolutely correct. And what I know is that people in my own family, people in my practice, my own self, we get stuck when something happens. And it's almost as if we are in quicksand, right? And under the rubble, when things you get too inundated by these things, and it gets confusing. What is true? I mean, I felt like when I was going through my most recent traumas, it affected my thinking also, though.
And were those are those work-related traumas?
So, yes. So I'm lumping this together, and I want to say that as well, that my trauma was work-related hostility, racial discrimination. And so for me, and then there was illness in there. So those are losses. I think sometimes we fail to acknowledge those things as losses. You know, breakups, separations, physical illness, you know, just loss of physical ability. Those are losses as well. And so that treatment affected my identity. It affected my ability to give and serve as I know how. It affected so many things, and it was a loss for me in so many ways.
Yeah.
But I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Well, so let me ask you this, because a lot of people say when there's a loss, they say, I want to get back to how things were. You know, what would you say to that, or to them when they say that?
It's impossible to go back in time. It's impossible to go back in time. Time is something that you can never regain. You can't regain it in that sense, but you can redeem it, own it again in a different way.
Ooh.
So what? That's right.
Say yes. Say more. Say more.
That's right. You can redeem it. So means to again, and deem means to own. You can own your time in a different way. You can never recoup that time, but today you can do something different. So why am I not going back there? I'm not going back there because I'm not the same person. Right?
So why would you want to go back there? Right.
Why would I want to go back there? Right. See, what I say to folks is that oftentimes we like to jump over the process of healing. Right? We want to go over it, go around it, and when you do that, then you miss the process. What you learn in the process is how to deal with those things. So I always say to my patients, you know, if you go around and go over it, you miss the process. But if you go through it, you're like, oh, this sucks. This is hard. I hate this. I know it. The cover's over my head, and then one day you're walking and the cover's off over your head, and you're like, the sun is shining. Oh my goodness. Because you realize that through that process, you've learned, no. Despite the weather and it's dark outside, I'm still going to go to dinner with my friends. Despite the fact that I don't feel like going to the gym, I am going to exercise. Despite the fact that I feel like God may not hear me, I am going to pray. Despite the fact that whatever. So you learn to do these things in the process so that you can be different. It's like your bag of tricks, as our beloved Dottie would say. Our bag of tricks, right? We're building that up. So through my 5 years of grace, right, I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about other people. I've learned so much about my faith. It's been tested. I've learned so much about my marriage. I've learned so much about my friend. I've learned so much, and I've developed skills that I would have never had this happen to me.
Woo! Woo. I've got chills, literally. Thank you so much for saying all of that, because I want people to understand that it sucks when you're going through it, you know, and we do anything that we can to avoid those negative feelings. That's just how we're wired, right? Yeah. Like the brain is wired to avoid pain and hurt. But once you just say, okay, I'm in it, and in order to work through it, come out on the other side, I have to go through it.
You have to.
You know, it's like when you're on a plane and you're flying through turbulence, you know that at some point it's going to end, you know?
You absolutely do.
So you just hold on and you strap in and you just, you know, can't wait until it's over with.
That's right.
So, but who have you opened up to, and what has that process been like for you?
What I'm saying is relatable to anyone. You don't have to be a person of faith to relate to what I'm saying. But what I understand is that really my life is not my own. Our lives are not our own. And so as a result of me going through these things, I have no shame. I have no shame. So I think you know that. I have no shame. So I talk about what's happening to me to other people. One, they get a chance to see either me as a professional black woman struggle, and that it's okay to struggle and not to have any shame about struggling. Okay. Two, they're able to see God's grace and how he keeps me during the struggle. You mean what? I didn't even know that happened to you. Oh yeah, that happened. Right? And so in addition to that, it allows people the opportunity to relate. You have no idea how many African American women I talked to about workplace hostility who said, that happened to me. Oh my God. And I had shame because I didn't want to talk about it with anybody else because I didn't think they would understand. And the truth of the matter is that it's happened to me 3 times in 5 years, right? And so if you are not a person who has worked in environments where that's a possibility, maybe you've worked in an environment for people who look like you, right? Or you've owned your own business. You think something's wrong with you. What's wrong with you, right?
Yep. And
so that was my thought initially. Is I'm always asking myself, was that you? How did you contribute to that, right? And if I didn't have my husband along the journey for the last 2, then I would be questioning my own self, what I saw, because race is not something that I go to immediately. You know me; I'm from Wisconsin, right? So that's not something that I go to. But having my life partner there, he was like, my husband, he was like, oh no, I see that thing. But I share my testimonies because that's exactly what it is.
Wow. And you know what? Even as you're saying that, I forgot that I shared your testimony with some clients of mine.
Wow.
African American women who had been struggling in the workplace, and they knew that it was based on discrimination, discriminatory factors.
Yeah.
And to be able to then share your story because you shared it with me, I can then give this other person hope. And that to me is just a powerful example of sharing our stories can help provide. You don't know how many other people it can help provide hope for.
That's right.
I started getting a little teary when I'm thinking about it, but
because this is, so let me just say to y'all, Damon and I feel like came out of the same womb because I know that's a little too much information, but we're so close and our spirits have been connected for a very, very long time, very long time, and but yes, and so this ebb and flow, that happens, right? That happens between us. I think that I've shared your forgiveness. I've shared many things, right? And so I think that's how we benefit from the story and the lives of other people. That's why we're connected. We're not supposed to live life by ourselves independently in a vacuum. No. It's engage, and it's to engage one another and to rub elbows and to share and to edify and to uplift and encourage. Of course. Yeah.
Whew. Yes, and thank you again for saying that. Nowness. So how have you been able to practice nowness, especially when you're in those moments, maybe you're not working or maybe you're under the covers and you don't want to get out from under there, but how do you practice being present and appreciating each moment, or just, it might not even be a positive feeling about the present moment, but maybe it's a neutral feeling, which is better than a more negative feeling. So how have you practiced just being in the now and being present with whatever is happening?
First of all, I think that we have to understand that we are allowed to have emotions.
Yes. Say it again.
We are allowed to have emotions. People try to stave off. I can't. I'm tough. I'm rough. I don't do that. What?
That doesn't
Crying
work.
is a natural response. That's why you got tear